welcome to the Coaching Culture podcast. My name's Jo Wright, and today I'm joined by yet another fabulous guest, considered one of the most influential leaders, motivational authors, and an all-round amazing human being. Today I'm joined by the co-author of the Go Giver series, Mr. Bob Burg. Bob, welcome.
Wow. What a nice introduction. As you were describing that person, I was thinking maybe she has someone else coming on and I'm on at the wrong time.
No, Bob, that's not true. That's not true. Today we're going to be talking about your story and the fabulous Go Giver series, because I was advised to reach out to yourself because somebody recognized something in my posts on LinkedIn and just went, you need to check out Bob Burg here because you and him share some same values. And so I instantly grabbed your book, and I know you've done a whole lot more than that, and you've sold millions of copies. I just absolutely adored it. So I think it'd be lovely today if you could share with our listeners more about you and your story, and really tell us about the Go Giver. What does it mean? Because we talk to organizations and I want to understand how can they absolutely adopt the Go Giver laws to maximize their success.
Yeah, Jo, so the term Go Giver, what does it really mean? It's simply that shifting your focus, and this is, I think, really where it all begins. It's shifting your focus from getting to giving. And when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others, understanding that doing so is not only a more fulfilling way of conducting business, which I think it is, but it's also the most financially profitable way as well. And not for any kind of way out there woo-woo type of magical mystical reasons. It actually makes perfect sense, because when you think about it, when you're that person who can take your focus off of yourself and place it on serving others, discovering what they need, what they want, what they desire, moving it off of yourself and onto helping them solve their challenges or problems, taking it off of you and placing it on helping others, that other person get closer to happiness. Well, when you do that, people feel good about you. People want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to do business with you if that's, appropriate based on what, and they also want to tell others about you. So that's really what we're talking about. And as you mentioned it sort of then leads out to 5 laws that John David Mann, my excellent co-author, and I put together with it.
So value, I mean, that it seems so obvious, but not everybody does that, do they? Not everybody gives more value and they think about it from their perspective. So do you want to share more about the 5 laws? Because I love your 5 laws. Obviously, the book totally sang to me, and your laws are really interesting. And I've got one of them makes me personally feel uncomfortable, and I know you'll know which one it is. But let's talk through them. Let's talk through them, because
we'll go through the other 4.
Go through the other. Let's not mention the one that I was thinking.
Because I know what you know.
I know you know which one it is. Talk to me about the 5, because it's number 5, isn't it?
Sure, exactly. So the first law is the law of value. And this says your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. But this can be easily misunderstood. This sounds kind of counterintuitive when you think about it, Joe. Give more in value than you take in payment. Isn't that a recipe for bankruptcy? So no, of course not. And we simply have to understand the difference between price and value. Price is a dollar figure or a pound figure. It's finite. It simply is what it is. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. So in other words, what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, what have you, that brings so much worth to another person that they will willingly exchange their money for it and be glad they did, while you also make a very healthy profit. And it would be sort of like the accountant who you hire to do your taxes, and she charges you £1,000 to do it. Okay. And that's her price, £1,000. But what value does she give you in exchange for this? Well, she, through her hard work, her dedication, her getting to know you and discovering what you're looking to accomplish, through being easy to work with, through everything she does in the process. First, she saves you well over 5,000 pounds. Okay. So that's the first part. She saves you countless hours of time, and she provides you and your family with the security and the peace of mind of knowing it was done correctly.
Yeah.
So as we see, she's given you well over 5,000 pounds in value in exchange for 1,000 pounds in payment or price. She gave you more in value, right, than she received in payment. But so you feel great about it.
Yeah.
And she also made a very healthy profit, which she should. Yeah. But here's the reason, and this is where it really, really comes in. The money she earned from this, okay, did not happen because she was focused on the money she was bringing in. She was focused on the immense value she was providing you.
Yeah.
And that's the key. This is why John David Mann and I say that money is simply an echo of value. It's the thunder, if you will, to value's lightning, which means really that the value that you're providing another human being must be the focus. The value comes first. The money you receive, which you should, right? The money you receive is simply a natural result of the value you provide.
Which is wonderful. And I totally get that. I absolutely get it. And I can think about it from my own personal perspective in terms of how I purchase things myself, but also ourselves at Coaching Culture. We actually give a lot of free resources, and there's lots of value in those free resources, and we get payments in other ways other than our resources, and people like that. I know they do, and we listen to what they say, which is or what they need, which is exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly.
And can you think of, who would you think of in any organization that you think, you know what, this organization that everybody knows about does it brilliantly? Or is I think if
you look at any sustainably successful and profitable business, you'll find that's what they do.
Yeah.
So it's not as though, is there an example of one? Well, there's millions of examples of one. Yeah. And so, so I think that's the key, so you can look at the great experiences that, Richard Branson's airlines provide, or you can look at the great experiences that, Apple provides, or you can look at but you can also look at the great experience that the local printer down the street provides, or the diner, the local restaurant provides, or the person who, you know what I'm saying? And so it's everyone who basically stays in business sustainably and profitably. They have to give more in value than what they take in payment, because it's an economic law that people will exchange their money for that which they feel is of greater value than the money they're exchanging it for. So this is why I often, when I speak to salespeople at sales conferences, the first thing I'll say is, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. Right? They're not going to buy from you because you need the money, or you'd like the sale, or even because you're a nice person. They're going to buy from you because they believe that they will be better off by doing so than by not doing so. Otherwise, why would they? Absolutely. And that's the only reason why anyone should buy, by the way, from you or from me or from anyone else. And that's great, because it means that the people who can take their focus off themselves and focus on the other person, that's the one who creates that benevolent context for success in the sale to take place.
So that's law number 1.
Yeah.
Law number 2.
Yeah, this is the law of compensation. Yeah. And this law says that your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So where law number 1 says to give more in value than you take in payment, law number 2 tells us that the more people whose lives you touch with the exceptional value you provide, the more money with which you'll be rewarded. So you might recall that in this part of the story, Nicole Martin, she was the CEO. She explained to Joe, who was the protege of the story, the law of value represents important. It represents your potential income, but not your actual income, because it's not enough to serve one person, right? Even magnificently, right? Law number 2, your compensation is about how many lives you impact with that exceptional value.
The scalability of your offer and how many people you can positively influence, impact with everything that you're there to offer. So get it out to as many people as possible and give them
yeah,
that great value.
yeah. And this is why we say that so exceptional value plus significant reach equals very high compensation. It's also one reason we're very big believers in a referral-based business.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, I suppose in recent years, like, well, not recent anymore, but the internet and the World Wide Web has now exploded that opportunity to talk.
Yeah, sure.
You and I now talking at the other side of the world from each other, and we're reaching so many people by doing that. Is fabulous, isn't it? And it's just made technology has just massively made scalability easier.
It has. It's allowed us to connect with people who we might never have had the opportunity to do so otherwise, and be able to build deep relationships with them.
Absolutely.
And that's what's so beautiful about it. So I think what happens where people sometimes approach the internet in a counterproductive way is when they think it's the technology that's going to be the relation, that's going to cause, right? And it's not. It's never about the technology. It's always about the people. It's always about the relationships. Yep. The technology simply helps us to act congruently with our values in terms of how we work with one another.
Brilliant. So I love that. So value and compensation. And number 3,
well, this
got to do it in the right way.
Yeah, this is the law of influence, and this is kind of what we were just talking about. Yeah. It says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Now, let me just clarify and explain this, if I may, because I think it can be easily misunderstood, and it's very important. When we say place the other person's interests first, we don't mean that you should be anyone's doormat.
Nope.
Or a martyr or self-sacrificial in any way. Absolutely not at all. It simply means this, and this is what Jo learned from several of the mentors in the story.
Yeah.
The golden rule of business, the golden rule of sales is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. And there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you and others than by genuinely moving from that I focus or me focus to an other focus. Yeah. Looking for ways to, as Sam, one of the mentors in the story, advised Jo, make your win all about the other person's win.
And I mean, the word trust is so important. Oh, unbelievable. We talk here about building a coaching culture, and what do we mean by that? That our final words of it are underpinned by trust, because relationships are absolutely all about trust. We know that in today's world more than ever, trusting, whether it's our politicians, our leaders, in our personal relationships, our leaders and managers, it's all about trust. And like you said, once you know, like, and trust somebody, the communication and relationship becomes so much more,
I agree,
productive, I guess.
Yeah. And here's the thing, we live in what could, I think, be called a low trust society at the moment.
Yeah,
okay. And that's not a good thing, but there is something good about it. And that is that person, that coach, who can quickly and effectively communicate their trustworthiness, their worthiness of trust.
Yeah.
That person is really far ahead in the game.
Yeah.
So in a low trust society, when you can be that trusted resource, wow, now you really have got a business that's a lot more fun, a lot less stressful, and a lot more profitable.
We did a little while ago a survey to our coaching culture community all about trust. And it was really fascinating. 100% of the respondents, and there was quite a few respondents because we've got a lovely community, all said that trust was important, obviously, in their organisation. But a much smaller percentage had anything trust related in their organisation. So whether it was their values linked to trust, it wasn't something that was really brought to the fore. Yet actually, everything boils down to trust. And it should be, you're talking value, but value comes through that trust, doesn't
All
it?
comes through. Yeah.
Service, product,
Right.
whatever. So it's fascinating how, like you've just said, how we live in a low trust society, but it doesn't seem to be talked about as much as it could be. And we need to do a whole lot more of that. And your law of influence is exactly that, isn't it? It's trust.
Thank you. That's what it's about. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so number 4.
Law number 4 is the law. We're getting close to the one.
I know where we're getting.
I saw the look on your face. I knew what you were thinking. The law number 4 is the law of authenticity. And the law of authenticity says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. Now, in this part of the story, Deborah Davenport, she was the real estate sales professional who was the top producer. She shared a very important lesson that she learned in her sales career. And that is that all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they're all very, very important.
Yep.
They're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. However, when you do, and this goes back to trust in a sense, right? When you show up as yourself, day after day, week after week, month after month, people feel good about you.
Yep.
People feel comfortable with you.
Yep.
People feel safe with you. Why wouldn't they?
Yep.
They know who they're getting. There's an assured reliability in their mind in terms of who you are. And we know that who you are determines what you do. So the trust is there.
Yeah.
So when you do show up as yourself, wow, now that trust really comes into play. Now, I think in a sense these days, and I don't know if you've noticed it, and I don't know if it's this way in the UK or if it's just, here in the States, but there seems to be almost a misunderstanding in terms of what authenticity really means. And what I find is a lot of people think that authenticity means you have no boundaries. It's like, I'm just going to say what I want to say. That's authentic. I'm going to just take it or leave it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Which, by the way, is a good philosophy to live by if you don't want to have any good relationships and you don't want to have a successful business. That aside, not so much.
Yeah.
So authenticity is not about, this is like the person who says, well, I have anger issues and I yell at people a lot. If I were to act any differently, that wouldn't be authentic of me. No way. That's wrong. No way. It simply means this person has an authentic problem,
Yes.
right? That they need to authentically work on in order to become a better, higher, more effective, authentic version of themselves. So authenticity should never be used as an excuse to not grow, but more as an impetus to grow. And Joe, I would define authenticity very simply. It's acting congruently with your values.
Absolutely. I had an interesting conversation with somebody recently about authentic leadership versus authentic leadership. And you're probably thinking, well, that sounds the same. And it's exactly to your point. One was little a, little l. One was capital A, capital L. Because people are going, well, isn't Donald Trump an authentic leader? And I'm like, okay, right. He's probably not the most popular of authentic leaders, and it's back to being himself and saying it as it is, whereas actually then there's the authentic leaders who show emotional intelligence and all the great things of exactly what you're saying, being congruent with values and actually personally growing all the time. So yeah, we've got plenty of examples in the UK. Donald Trump was the first person who came to mind from the conversation that I had with the lady at the time.
I think in every country and everywhere, you're going to have people who do things their own way. They're going to have certain people that respond to it and in certain things they don't. And people have their own style and way of doing things. So, I think it's one of those things where we can kind of learn from everyone in terms of, Jim Rohn, who was a great speaker here in the U.S. You remember Jim Rohn? And he was wonderful. Jim Rohn used to say, you can learn from everyone. Now, some people you learn what to do, and some people you learn what not to do.
Absolutely.
And, and I think there's also people who you can learn, you can watch them and see certain things that you can learn from them to do and other things you can learn from them not to do.
Definitely.
And I thought, because I loved what Jim said. And you can also, but I think, and again, I don't know in the UK and the States, we're so divided politically right now that it's almost like no one is willing to learn from the other side, right? You know, the other side. It's like it used to be, and I always say in politics in the US, it used to be I'm right, you're wrong, which isn't great, but is doable, because if you feel you're right and the other's wrong, you'll at least reach out because you want it right. Now it's different. Now it's no longer I'm right, you're wrong. Now it's I'm right, you're evil.
Oh.
And when we believe that the other side is evil, we won't reach out to them. Because why would you ever reach out to evil? You can't change evil. And that's one reason why I think political discourse has come to such a halt in this country, because instead of people trying to even understand what the other person, so you can understand where a person's coming from without agreeing with them.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you understand where they're coming from, and you realize that probably it's not evil, probably, I would say that, again, here in the States, and I'm assuming the same with the UK, most people are good people.
Definitely.
On both sides, who would love, who want people to be happy and healthy and live good lives. And, you know, right? Now, the two sides have different ways of going about it. Absolutely. And they're very, very different. But when we look at the other person or the other side as probably having the same basic goals, just a different way of getting there, now we can kind of reach out and understand and know where they're coming from. And from there, we can engage, and we can even, in many cases, persuade.
Yeah.
So I think that's really what it comes down to, that we kind of really kind of look to see why people who we might not agree with think as they think, and try to, go that route. So, yeah, I mean, I love that. I love what you brought up.
The law of authenticity. We talk about authenticity such a lot in leadership forums, and also the word authenticity does come a lot. But now you know where I'm going. Number 5 of laws. Now, I get it. I understand it. Mm-hmm. But this is one I personally need to learn and lean into a whole lot more.
Sure. This is law number 5, is the law of receptivity.
Absolutely.
And this one says the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving.
Yeah.
Well, this really means nothing more than understanding that you breathe out and you breathe in.
Yeah.
It's not one or the other. Yeah. It's both. Yeah. You breathe out carbon dioxide. You breathe in oxygen. Yeah. You breathe out, which is giving. You breathe in, which is receiving. Now, giving and receiving, contrary to the messages we get from the world around us, right? And what are the messages about wealth and prosperity and abundance and money that we get from the world around us? That it's a good thing? No. The messages are that it's, people who are wealthy did it on the backs of others, or they did something horrible or nefarious, or they this or they that. Now, it's a big world. People do things that we don't agree with, and some people have, Yeah. But no, for most of us, I guarantee everyone on this who's listening in or watching, no one is forced to do business with any of us. No. The only way we can receive a whole lot of money is to provide a whole lot of value to a whole lot of people, yeah. Right? And so giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. No. Giving and receiving are simply two sides of the very same coin, yeah. And they work in tandem. So it's not, are you a giver or a receiver? You're a giver and a receiver. Now, what is that the giving comes first. That's got to be the focus, right? Yep. Just like we talked about. It's the law of life. It's the law of nature. We plant before we harvest. Yeah. We sow before we reap. We throw the logs and the wood and the newspaper into the fireplace before we get heat. Yeah. And fire, right? Right. And so when we understand that, now we're able to tap into it. Now that's very logical and rational. But money and prosperity is a very emotional thing. Absolutely. Again, because of all the messages that the world around us gives you. Television, movies, the newspapers, do they ever really make wealthy people look good and kind and caring? No. It's all right. They're always the money, step on people's toes and be ruthless and horrible, right? Well, that's the messages people get.
Yeah.
And so what we've got to do is we've got to be able to get past that. We've got to first recognize it and understanding that our belief systems in terms of money and prosperity have been shaped not by our own conscious thinking, but by the world around us, and that we've accepted these premises unconsciously. And that's that's the most insidious thing of all, right? It's not like we know this. We don't even realize it. So we first got to understand it. Then we've got to make a plan to be able to work on it. Now, I'm a big believer in getting, books and studying books and videos and audios and blogs from the people who specialize in this thing. So there's a lot of great people out there. There are people like, Randy Gage, and there's people like Bob Proctor and David Nagel and Sharon Lecter and Ellen Rogan and Ken Honda, and just some, wonderful teachers who, write, speak, teach, and so forth. I'm a big, I subscribe to their blogs. I need to read every day these same messages.
Yeah. Because
the other messages, the horrible messages of lack, come at us all the time. Just go online and you're going to see that. Just watch TV, you're going to see that. So yes, I think to the degree that we study prosperity, that's the degree that we're going to get past those unconscious mind viruses, as Randy Gage calls them, and be able to,
And what about, so you talked there about money and wealth and prosperity. What about things like acts of kindness? Because I kind of think, I love doing things for others, supporting others, and then sometimes feel uncomfortable when people do it back. So, even me reaching out to you and you just went straight away, yeah, no problem. I was like, oh, wow, you really are living this book, like the values of the book straight away.
So let's talk about that, because that's very important. When we talk about receptivity, money isn't the only form of receptivity.
Yeah.
Financial prosperity is just one aspect of prosperity.
Yeah.
Financial success is one aspect of success. There's success in terms of, financial, and that's important, but there's also physical, spiritual, mental, emotional, social, relational, probably a dozen other ways I can't even think of. And so it's the same here. So when we're building our prosperity muscles, and I think it is a muscle, like anything else, right? If you want to lift 200 pounds, you don't start with 200 pounds. You start with 10 pounds, and then 20, and then 30, and then 50, and then we build on our small successes. So how would we do that here? When someone pays you a compliment, right? If you can't receive and instead you go, oh, no, right? Okay. But what if instead, as uncomfortable as it might be the first time, you say, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. Exactly. What about when someone goes to pour your coffee at the local store? You go, oh, no, I'll do it myself. Or you say, oh, thank you. Or, you know what I'm saying? So those little things, those 10 pounds and those 20 pounds and those, right?
Yep.
We could build on our small successes, and any kind of receptivity we allow ourselves, it's the same as receiving money. It just keeps building our ability to receive.
I love that. I love the way you've articulated that, because I remember reading it in the book and I was like, ooh, and I could feel it, and I saw it in some of the notes at the back that other people had the same sort of thoughts. But actually listening to you saying that and building that, receptivity muscle is a really powerful thing to do. And in terms of organizations out there, you've said that so many are living this, they're doing it well, those who are giving value. Do you ever think of any specific organizations that are absolutely smashing all five? Or even quoting all five? They actually live and breathe your...
Oh, yeah. Well, many. Yeah. I mean, many. I just think of a company I did a program for. I spoke at their conference, and they deal in providing what are called fractional CFOs.
Yep.
Okay. So when a company's not big enough to have a full-time chief financial officer, this company sends in CFOs this is totally a go-giver company. Everything about it, they nail. They give so much more in value than they take in payment. They're touching the lives of lots of people. They place their clients' interests first. They're totally authentic and know who they are. They act according to their values, and they're receiving lots and lots and lots of money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, again, I can think of so many that are nailing it.
And if you were giving the smallest piece of advice that would have the largest impact to organizations who may be listening, so it could be HR directors listening today, thinking, actually, this, if there was one thing they had to go away and do from our conversation today, what would that be?
I think it's realizing that, and Dale Carnegie said this in his classic How to Win Friends and Influence People, that ultimately people do things for their reasons, not our reasons. Yeah. So if we want to be very effective, if we want to be very influential, we've always got to be asking ourselves questions such as, how does what I'm asking this person to do, how does it align with their needs, their wants, their desires, their goals? Yeah. How does what I'm asking this other person to do align with their values? What challenges am I helping them to solve? How am I helping them get closer to satisfaction or happiness? Right. And when we ask ourselves these questions thoughtfully and intelligently, genuinely, authentically, right, not as a way to manipulate another person into doing our will, but as a way of building and advancing everyone in the process, now we've come a lot closer to earning that person's commitment, their like, and their trust.
Brilliant. Absolutely love that. And in terms of yourself, what's next for Bob and the Go Giver movement?
Well, we have my business partner, Kathy Tajanel, who's absolutely brilliant. She and I have we have an online group mentoring site called the Go Giver Success Alliance.
Yeah, brilliant.
And while there is a weekly call, and we have some UK members too. We have a weekly call on Wednesdays at 11 o'clock our time, which I think is 4 o'clock UK time, depending upon the time of year. So once a week we have these big group kind of strategizing and discussing and problem solving and all that. And we do that right on Zoom. And then the rest of the week we have all these interactions throughout the site. It's not a Facebook group. It's actually on our own, on a private network. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. So that's really what we're doing and continuing to build. And
would you want to build that further in the UK as well? Because we will have people listening in from the UK for sure.
Oh, we love our UK friends that our UK mates who join us every week. It's just Go Giver Success Alliance. .com.
Brilliant.
And yeah, they can go on there. And in fact, I'm just making sure. Go Giver without the hyphen, gogiversuccessalliance.com. And they can also at berg.com, they can find the link to it as well.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. So I was just about to say, how can people contact you? But that's the answer, really, isn't it? That's the best way to get in contact with you. Mm-hmm. Bob, is there anything else you'd like to share today? Because I've absolutely loved our conversation, and I'm sure our listeners will too. Is there anything else you would want to share of your so many years and wealth of experience that you think, they need to know? Joe's coaching culture community need to know this.
I appreciate you very much. It's been a joy, a pleasure, and an honor. And I guess I would just kind of summarize a lesson that a mentor from a long time ago taught me when I was kind of like Joe in the story, kind of finding my way. And he said, if you want to make a lot of money in sales, in business, he said, don't have making money as your target. Your target is serving others. When you hit the target, you'll get a reward, and that reward will come in the form of money. And you can do with that money whatever you choose. But never forget, he said, the money is simply the reward for hitting the target. It's not the target itself. Your target is serving others.
Bob, I absolutely love that. Thank you so much indeed for joining us today. I've absolutely loved our conversation. Thank you. And you've exactly lived up and exceeded all our expectations. So thank you. And
my pleasure.
Thank you, everybody, again, for listening into our Coaching Culture podcast. We've got an amazing guest today, which is Bob Burg. And again, do listen in again for more fabulous guests. We've got more fabulous, inspirational people to interview soon. So again, thank you.